Hi, welcome back. In this video, we're going to talk about emotions. There's a picture of my daughter, and guess what I feel when I see this picture? Well, great, happy, well, every possible feeling that you could imagine. Emotions are feelings. Emotions are how you think or how you imagine, how you conceptualize your state of mind. Is the cognitive aspect of it. The question is, are emotions just our feelings? Well, it seems like emotions doesn't only mean feelings. Emotion actually involves a lot more than just our feelings. First, there is a physiological aspect of it, where there's a change in the physiology, body physiology, your body is aroused. There is change in your blood pressure. There is change in the pumping of blood from your heart. There is change in the perspiration. There is several biological changes, physiological changes that happen when you emote or when you experience an emotion. So that's one part of it. The second part of it, which we actually call emotion, which is a feeling, is the subjective aspect of it, which is your interpretation of your state of mind. It's a subjective feeling. It's a mental state. It's your understanding of whatever is going on in your mind. So that's the cognitive appraisal. It's like your mind saying, yes, you're feeling positive. Yes, you're feeling negative. But there is also a third component to it, which is the behavior itself, which is our expression. Now, if you look, when you're angry, you emote differently. Your bodily expressions change. When you frown or when you're sad, your bodily expressions change. So we refer not just the facial expressions. I'm talking about the total body expression. For example, if you're sad or depressed, you tend to bend forward, and your extremities, your hands try to come close to your central part of the body, as opposed to when you're confident, happy, your chest your widens up, your head is up, and you're not curled together, but in fact you're open. So when we say expression, we're not just talking about facial expression, which is also included, but we are also talking about general body expression. So by bodily expression, we means facial expressions, gestures, the tone of your voice, the posture of your body. These all things are included in the expressive or behavior aspect of it. Now, an important question is, what purposes or what purpose does emotion serve? Now, there might be several explanations, but one specific to Darwin is based on Darwin's idea of evolution, is that our emotions have adaptive purposes or evolutionary purposes. In other words, we experience these emotions because it has some survival value to it. For example, you're in danger, you're scared. Now, the way you emote your body or the body responds when you're in that stage, for example, let's say you encounter a tiger and your body responds, your heart rate increases, your respiratory rate increases, your body prepares you to actually escape the situation. And we're talking about these bodily changes, but it also the cognitive appraisal, which is body, your mind is preparing, your mind is kind of telling you that, look, there is a state here, and you need to help yourself. So emotions have a survival purpose to it, according to Darwin. Suppose you are a hunter, and you're gathering food, right? Arousal is to hunt for food, or if there is a danger, then arousal will help you fight the danger. Then we have these emotions of aggression, which is to secure our resources. The resources could be our bodily resources, we will talk about when we talk about stress. Resources could be physical resources, where you have set aside your food. And of course, emotions are helpful and important, because it will help us store food, it would help us procure food, it will help us also maintain our species by making us be involved in such like storing resources specific to food and sex. So emotions give us a medium to communicate for survival. That's the fundamental point behind the purpose here behind Darwin's theory, um, is that by emoting, you can communicate. Now, there are several theories of emotion, and we're going to talk about these four different specific theories. And it's basically boils down to the idea of which comes first. Do you cognitively feel the emotion first, or does your body respond to the emotion first? So, at a fundamental level, these theories talk about which one comes first or which comes first. Now, According to JL, the James Lang theory, emotions follow the bodily reactions. In other words, suppose you're driving and you see a deer, your heart pounds, your hand tremble, your physiological states kick in first before you actually cognitively experience the fear. So it's physiology first, then cognitive. That's the JL theory or the James Lang theory. Now, the Cannon-Barr theory is that emotions, which is the cognitive part of it, and your body reactions go together simultaneously. In other words, your body reacts as you actually experience both at the same time. Two-factor model. Our emotions depend on two different set of factors. One is our actual state of arousal. In other words, our physiological changes, your heart rate, respiratory rate, your perspiration, your bodily state. The other one is the cognitive appraisal, the cognitive interpretation. So our emotion is a result of these two factors. For instance, just imagine you are actually driving and you're scared, then your body, you're driving, you're scared because probably you saw something you're not supposed to see, a deer or something, and you experience these bodily changes. You might experience, according to this theory, similar bodily changes when you are similarly excited, but maybe you're in a safer place. For example, you're playing a video game with cars. Uh, so the initial factor is the state of arousal, which is similar, according to this theory, both in a non-threatening and a threatening situation. What the second factor does, which is the cognitive interpretation, is it actually evaluates the context, the environment you are in, the source, why you are feeling these bodily states, and interprets it as a necessary thing related to a negative situation. For instance, you're driving, versus as a part of a pleasurable experience if it's a video game situation. So our emotion in this sense, or according to this theory, then is a function of these two factors. While one is the bodily state, the other one is the interpretation of the reason for the bodily state by quickly evaluating the atmosphere or the condition you're in. So change in bodily state, then your mind looks for environmental cues, then you label it as actual subjective feeling of a threatening situation or an actual cognitive feeling of danger versus excitement. So according to the next model then, which is the dual pathway model, the context in which you are in, suppose you are driving and you see a deer, or if you're playing a video game and you experience, your body experiences physiological changes, right? Now, before that, the sensory information, if you remember from chapter 2, the sensory information goes through your your hindbrain, basically parts of medulla oblongata, the pons, then the midbrain, and information goes to the thalamus in the form of a crisscross of fibers called a reticular activating system. Information first goes to the thalamus, and in the thalamus, from the thalamus, the information goes to two different places through two different paths, and that's why it's called dual pathway. And to talk about these two pathways, let's look at this picture. So your sensory system or your sense organs send information to your thalamus, and from the thalamus, the information takes two different routes. The information takes two different routes. One is called the high road, where the information goes to your cortex. The other one is the low road, where the information goes to the emotional part, the subcortical structure, especially amygdala. Now, the high road, where the information is actually going to your cortex, right? The information taken to cortex is slow. The information taking the low road, it happens quickly within a fraction of a second. And this amygdala, once it receives information from thalamus about unexpected stimulus, let's say, it sends information, it actually triggers the stress response system in a way that your body immediately gets ready, and leading to those physiological changes such as heart rate increase, perspiration, respiratory rate, and all those things. Then remember, there are two pathways. The other pathway, where it takes more time, but eventually the information, when it goes to the cortex, it actually processes information slowly and determines the actual threat, and determines whether it's a pleasurable thing if you're playing a video game versus if it's a dangerous thing if you're driving something. So here, dual pathways here then refer to The one is the low road, the other one is the high road. Low road is a quick reaction from your amygdala, and the high road relates to the cortex that actually takes slowly. So both are important if you think about it. A low road actually helps you survive, versus a high road actually lets you respond appropriately after taking some time. So as the picture shows here, information that reaches thalamus will take 2 rounds. The low road is going to amygdala, and the high road is going to cortex. One is quick, which leads to a quick response, physiological changes, and the other one is a high road going to the cortex, where the information takes actually more time to actually cognitively process it.